14.3 session plan, session and program reviews by me. Client aims. Program aims were based upon the aims specifically of my client, which is to build muscle mass in his arms and legs and decrease weight and BMI. We also expand this to increasing muscle on his core as well. The reason that I chose these aims is because my client aims were what he said he wanted to do was to build muscle and to get in better shape. The muscles that are most important in his sport are particularly his arms and legs, but we also got to work on his core as well, since that's good for stopping the ball and protecting his internal organs when they're very powerful and very fast shots being shot in his direction, particularly at his chest. And to get in better shape, the best way for him to do that is to decrease his weight and BMI, because my client has a much higher than average BMI, and losing weight would be very, very beneficial to him. The specific aims of the session is to build muscle mass in the arms, legs and core. It's not mainly focuses on the weight part. The weight part is for other sessions in the program where it involves much more running. Though if he was unable to do the weight training, that we would then aim to decrease his weight, because the main contingency he'll have is a contingency run. To measure his progress throughout this training session and throughout the weeks, we will be using 1 rep max progression and weight loss. So we will be measuring his weight week 1 and measuring his weight week 3 to see if there's been a decrease and to make sure that the program is working. And hopefully there'll be a significant decrease by week 6. And 1 rep max progression if we have indeed succeeded in increasing his muscle mass in his arms and legs. He should hopefully have a better 1 rep max, particularly on things such as the bicep curl and weighted leg extensions. Risk assessment, pause it, have a look through if you want to or don't. Client bar cue. Have you eaten an appropriate amount of food before this session? This is a good question to ask, because if doing exercise on an empty stomach can induce nausea, which is not good for him and it's not good for me either, because I don't need him being sick in my session. So it's important that he's had a good full breakfast, considering this session took place at 10:15 a.m. Have you recently experienced any spells of dizziness or have been feeling faint? If he said yes to this question, I would not be letting him train, because any spell of dizziness is a very bad thing, and if he has not been seen by a doctor, he really shouldn't be playing basketball. Have you had any serious injuries that could deter testing? My client said no to this. If he said yes, then we wouldn't do it, because any serious injury, well, by serious, I should say what I mean. By serious, I mean broken legs, broken limbs. I wouldn't consider a sprain a serious injury. Anything that completely stops any exercise to do that component, which could not just perhaps deter some exercises, it could deter the entire session, but it more likely to deter certain ones, in which case I have alternatives in place. Have you consumed any alcoholic drinks today? He should not have been drinking at 10 a.m. Then I would have some further questions about that. But either way, had the answer been yes, despite that, I would also then still not let him train, because him being drunk or slightly tipsy while surrounded by some very heavy objects could go very bad for him if he dropped it himself, and very bad for me if he dropped it on me, and would provide me with a lot of legal actions and reasons which I do not want to sort through, because I could end up getting sued for letting him do it, which is crazy. But yeah. Any other information you believe I should know about this, to see if there's anything I've forgotten, anything he wants to tell me? Maybe he does feel he was slightly ill before, but not anymore. Anything like that. Here are my client's measurements. I'm not going to speak too much about it because it's fairly self-explanatory what it is, but as you can see, my client has a perfectly fine resting heart rate. Those are the 2 zones, zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3, which we're going to try and stay between. First 4 weeks in zone 2, then we're going to try and move up to zone 3. His resting blood pressure is slightly higher than we would like it to be. It's within the average range, but it's on the high end, so we like to get that more to the middle would be preferable. His peak flow is better than average, solid, nothing need to do there. BMI, like I said before, slightly on the larger side. 25, just outside that range. But even if he was on 24, 23, we'd still probably want to improve that down more to like 20. Trying to get on the lower side of the average would be better. Exercise session content. For my session, we will be doing in the sports hall, as that is where I've been allocated. We need I'd say a badminton court. We could probably do with half a badminton court. We don't really need that much space. The only reason we need maybe a badminton court is when we jog out while we're doing our stretches. Other than that, we're fairly stationary for the session. Unless, however, we need to do our alternative, in which case it involves running. Then we do need the badminton court. We prefer to do running outside, but there are issues with that, as stated in my risk assessment. If it says at the bottom here, if there is bad weather for the contingency run, then there's not much I can do about that. Act of God, then the session is cancelled, and I have to say sorry. Resources needed: assorted dumbbells, yoga mat, and rowing machine. I only say assorted dumbbells and not giving actual weights because we do not yet know what his 1 rep max is, which we would work out very, very quickly at the beginning of the session. The rowing machine. The rowing machine is more for if we have time. We didn't actually end up having time for the rowing machine, so the rowing machine actually wasn't needed. But it's good to have it there just in case we did. And the yoga mat. The yoga mat is not just for the cool down, which is yoga, you might guess, but it is also for the sit-ups and the press-ups, as it's more comfortable to do it on a yoga mat. Health and safety considerations. Before, I must ask him to remove all his jewellery, as if jewellery caught on him, it could end up, if neck jewellery caught on him, it could end up strangling. He could have problems with piercings falling out. It all could affect his safety, and therefore it affect my legal safety. So I'll make sure he gets rid of that, and make sure he comes dressed in the correct attire. If he is not the correct attire, such as he does not have running shoes on, if we have to go for the run, then he cannot train because he might get injured, and like I said, that violates my safety legally, so I cannot let him do anything unless he has correct clothes on, which I would remind him by sending him an email at least a day beforehand. During, I must make sure I keep my eye on my client at all times. He has done plenty of exercise in the gym before, but that doesn't matter because I have to make sure he has my expertise. Because I need to make sure he's using his audits correctly, especially since I believe there are some exercises he had not done before in the session. Oversee weights in particular there, because those are the most important stuff, like the press ups, and the bridge and the plank, and even the weight of medicine. But I'm not too worried about that. For the weights in particular, there can be pretty damaging if dropped or if not used properly. So yeah. And afterwards, pack all equipment away safely. We wouldn't leave any equipment out that could be tripped over or impede the session after. So it is important to get rid of that quickly after the session is finished. But not too quickly as to rush it and end up tripping over it ourselves. That would be horrific. Emergency procedures. If there's an injury, I know the location, the medical staff location is just around the corner. I also know how to do CPR and recovery position because in the EDP program, they teach me how to do that stuff because I have to know it. And then if there is a fire alarm, I know all the fire exits, which I will quickly usher my client to, leaving all the stuff behind for safety reasons. And my contingency plan, if there is no weight, and on the hall is not free, then we will run, which quickly converts our session into a weight loss session other than muscle building. Introduction. I will greet my client, most likely with a firm handshake, asking how they are, asking them about key questions, and asking upon their health in general. I will try and be calm, friendly, to let him know that I'm a nice guy, but yet assertive so he knows that he has to listen to me, and I'm not just there to be his mate. And he needs to know that I'm in control of the situation. He has to do what I tell him, both just because it's my session, he needs to do what I say, and also for his own safety. as I'm the expert here and I know what I'm doing and he doesn't. Warm up. The purpose of the warm up is to loosen the specific muscles which we'll be working out, which is arms, legs and core, and as for mental preparation, because it's about to be a very extraneous session, and he needs to make sure he's aware of what's about to happen and he's prepared for it. We'll start off with some 8 forward arm circles and 8 backward arm circles. We're just going to do this by slowly jogging across the badminton court. Just getting the blood flowing to our arms, get our arms moving, getting prepared. Then we're going to do 8 walkouts, which involve going into all fours, walking your legs up to your arms and then walking your arms out. Very simple, you look a bit like a monkey. It's a good warm up for both your legs and your arms, as it exercises both of them. Cross court lunges, just going out some lunges as we walk across the width of the court, which we get the legs nice and loosened up. And then some cross body sections for 10 seconds. This can be done stationary, just holding his arm across his body for 10 seconds. And arm behind the back just for 10 seconds. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to say 1, he says 2, I say 3, he says 4, I say 5, he says 6, so on, so on, so on. So he's more evolved and he makes sure he's awake for the duration of the stretching. The main content. Alright, this is my entire session written out in list format. It was 3 sets. It was changed due to time constraints. If I had an hour, it would be 3 sets of everything, but it was half an hour, so it's 2 sets. We're going to start off with arms, which is bicep, tricep, bench. This is working out everything from our shoulders all the way down to our forearms and our wrist. So we start off with the bicep curls. This is the bicep curls, the tricep press, and the bench shoulder press. This is all to improve muscle mass. So for the bicep curls, we're just going to do a bicep curls, tricep press and shoulder press. We'll do 2 sets and we're going to alternate between them. So a set of biceps, set of triceps, set of bench, and then set of biceps, set of triceps, set of bench. We're going to do 8 reps for 50% of his 1 rep max. Because he's not used to this type of training, 8's fairly light, but at the end of the session we like to work in more up to 10 or perhaps 12, but we'll start off with 8. It's a good start. It allows us room for progression, and 50% of his 1 rep max should be fairly comfortable. I think we settled on 10 kg per arm, which we considered is to be half his 1 rep max, as his 1 rep max was 20 kg. So the bicep curls works out his biceps, tricep curls works out his tricep, bench and shoulder press works out the muscles in his shoulders, to make sure we have all those bases covered, as one of his main goals was to improve his muscle mass. Then we have the press ups, which then progress into weighted press ups. Now we do this entire section from press ups down to passing medicine sit-ups, like we did with the arm stuff, as a sort of rotation. So it has 2 sets for everything, but it's set of press-ups, set of weighted press-ups, set of sit-ups, set of medicine ball, set of passing medicine ball, and then repeat. We have different reps for each one. As you can see, we decrease the reps when it comes to the regulars, so press-ups and sit-ups, and then we decrease it by 5 when it comes to the weighted ones. This is because obviously the weighted ones are more harder and provide much more extraneous work, and therefore lower reps is more ideal and more maintainable for the client. So the press ups, working out the arm, working out that core strength, getting the muscle properly built in those areas. And then weighted press ups is to add a bit more of a challenge. It provides a bit of resistance. Because he's already quite a strong lad, it's important that he has a bit of a challenge. So 50% of his 1 rep max for this was, I believe it was 5 kg. As his 1 rep max was, I think his 1 rep max was 11 kg, so he did 5 kg. Then for sit up, like the press ups and the beginning sets, as I said, this is all in sets of 2. So we start off with just the regular sit-ups. Well, this is mainly where we're going to centre around his core muscle, because most of the session has been more focused on his upper body. So this is more about his core muscle. And the sit-ups is just the standard once again, 15 reps of this, 10 reps of the others. So we should manage 15. Should be fairly simple. We don't want to stress him too hard before we do the weighted ones. Those are more the main focus. For the medicine ball sit-ups, I'm going to place the medicine ball on his chest before he starts, because I think it's safer that way than him having to use his arms to pick up the medicine ball. It's quite heavy. So we're just going to have it on his chest, and you could do regular sit-ups, so just with the medicine ball there, which adds a bit of resistance, pushing him back, making him have to work even harder, and increasing his core strength to complete a full sit-up. And then with the passing medicine ball sit-ups, for the other ones, I would be using my hands to hold his feet down to the ground to make sure he does a sit-up properly and doesn't move his feet. But for this one, I'm going to be kneeling on his feet. I'm going to have the ball for most of the time. So he'll go down, he'll start off down. When he comes up, I will then pass him the ball, in which he will then tap left. So twist it around his entire body to tap his left side. Then twist around his entire body to tap his right side. And then pass the ball back to me before going back down. So that is definitely by far the most strange one. If he can't do 10 reps, I might make that 8. And then the last two, getting more core, a bit of legs, plank and sideways plank. The sideways, we could redo this with just a plank, but we chose the sideways plank because it focuses more on each arm, and it also adds in a bit more variation for the final set of what we want to do. And yeah, that's about it for the main content of my session. Cool down. Now the cool down, I wanted to give it a bit more of a fun aspect. I didn't want to just normal stretching, so I was like, what can still stretch the arms, his core, his back, and his legs all at once while I stand in a fun bit? And I instantly thought of yoga. But to make it even more and make the client like it even more, I thought, why just do yoga instead? Let's do yoga with a really cool name, which she's not going to know what it means. So, Surya Namasaka. Found it. Quite liked it. It's very simple. To be honest, there's not too much explanation I need to do. You basically follow the steps in the ball, which involve going from upright into more like a shelled position, to a lunge position, to a triangle position, to like a more like back stretching position where you're laying on the ground and you fill it up, and then you sort of reverse it and come back up to where you are. So basically it's more like you're kind of like scrunching yourself together and then unraveling yourself back to the original position. It went quite well. Oh, I'm not talking about that. But yeah, good idea. And to end the session, I'll make sure to pack everything away. I'm going to have him help me do this to make sure it's done quickly as possible and safely as possible. I don't want to rush, like I said before. I want to think about safety while I'm doing it to make sure he packs away the weights correctly. I only do one weight at a time, since 2 of those weights is even as 1 rep max, so you should definitely only do 1 weight at a time. And yeah, that's about it for my exercise content. Alternatives. If he cannot do the jogging warm up, we can do all those exercises while stationary. So if he has some injury on his legs, those warm ups can be done stationary, so that's fine. For the entire session alternative, if he has a session in which an injury in which he cannot do the session whatsoever, so he's injured most likely his arms, or the whole, if the hall's being used as the main one as well, then like I said briefly before, we're going to go for a run outside, which will be a 2.5 mile run, because we'll work on his BMI instead of his muscle building, and try and reduce his weight. If he injures his upper body, we're going to switch it to a low leg day, which stayed in my 14.2, involves leg extensions, weighted leg extensions, basically, and rowing machine, all that stuff. A bit more leg focused activities, weighted squats, and all that jazz. If he is just injured a muscle slightly, we might try and make it even better by still working on that muscle, but doing less reps to try and get it more loose and try and get that muscle working again, to just get the blood pumping in that muscle and still not neglect it fully while it's recovering. And in the end, if he's not flexible enough to do Surya Namasaka, because it's not complex, but you do need a bit of flexibility in your arm, and my client is a large person, as seen by his BMI, so he might not be able to do it. But if not, then we'll just do some sedentary stretching. We're just going to sit down, make sure we get a good leg stretching, pull them together, pull each one to our chest, go against the wall, push our arms against the wall, try and get a good stretch in, and then we'll also do the same stretch that we did in the warm-up, the cross-body stretch, the behind the back stretch, and all that stuff. Session evidence. That's me. That's Rudy. This is my session. As you can see, we covered all the stuff. We start off with the sit-ups, then we got the stretching. He was about to do a plank, the cross-body stretching, him doing the tricep press, sideways plank, weighted sit-ups, press-ups, plank, and I believe he was about to go into a shoulder press. My client feedback. My client thought I had a good, appropriate warm-up. He liked how it was active and he did it while I was moving. He also thought I had good progressive exercises with the reps, because I increased the reps as during the session, because he found the original reps on set too easy, so I increased it from 8 to 10 for the second set. And he also liked that it was varied and had a unique cooldown. I knew he liked the cooldown. The Shuno Massacre is a great cooldown, and I'm glad he enjoyed the variance. Negative increase in weights possibly. This is a lack of thinking in my part. I should have brought more weights out with me before the session started, so perhaps my preparation could have been slightly better. But because that was his 1 rep max, I thought that would be fine. But maybe he could have increased that throughout the session. More demonstrations. That was a big mistake on my part. I did give some demonstrations, and some demonstrations are good. As you see, as I put my strength with pretty good strength with demonstrations. But for some of them, he had to ask demonstrations rather than me just giving him one, which is poor on my part. Because I should never make the assumption that he knows what he's doing. Because he doesn't, and then that's also a safety risk. So, big no on my part. The observer feedback, the guy I had with the camera watching me, said he agreed with my client and said there was good exercises which were concentrated on the muscles that we were trying to improve, and good variation with some unique ideas, particularly involving the medicine ball he specified. But negative, he thought I could talk to the client more. Yeah, my chat wasn't great. I didn't really try to make too much of an effort to connect with my client. I probably should have done. But that's all good. And then more demonstrations, like my client said. I should have given him some more demonstrations rather than having to be prompt. Strengths and areas for developing regarding you leading as a session. So I, for my strength, when I led my session, I gave him some good motivation. I tried to encourage him whenever possible to make sure he could do better. With some of the last sets for the sit-ups, he was struggling. He looked like he was about to give up. I made sure I whispered some encouraging words and hear them he could do it. And surprise, surprise, he managed to get through it, which was great. Clear instruction. I thought I gave very detailed instructions. Like I said, because of my lack of demonstration, I did try and explain it with my words very detailed, and he, for the most part, knew what he was doing. So I think I gave good, clear instructions. And the demonstrations that I did do, I think, were good, clear demonstrations that accurately showed a safe way of doing what I wanted to do. Areas for improvement. Since both of them said it, I wanted to better my small talk. I should have asked him some more questions, tried to engage with him a little bit more about life outside of that gym session, to make sure there was more of an enjoyment aspect to it rather than just purely exercise, because exercise never feels like exercise when you're enjoying yourself, so perhaps I should have worked on that. More demonstrations, as I've said previously. Now back to my client aims. So for my program, I wanted to build muscle in arms and legs and increase weight and BMI. I think I did this because during my test that I did in week 4, he showed a decrease in BMI and an increase in his 1 rep max progression over the course of the 6 weeks. So I believe my program succeeded, particularly in building muscle in the in arms and legs, though the core muscle didn't increase as much as the arms and legs one. So maybe an area in which I can improve myself if I want to do this again is to progress the reps or progress the time, particularly of the plank and the side plank and the bridge, more for future sessions. So for my client aim, which is to build muscle and get in better shape, I think we succeeded. He lost weight, which I think counts as in better shape, and he built some muscles in the most important muscles he needed to play his sport. Strengths and areas of it regarding my program writing, I think I was very creative, particularly with my cool down and the idea of including the medicine ball for the sit-ups. I think that was a good idea on my part, and I think he really appreciated that. I think I had good progression with the increase in reps over the sets, and the increase with the sit-ups and then weighted sit-ups and then passing weighted sit-ups and then press-ups and weighted press-ups. And I also think they were quite relevant to what he wanted to do, because they all worked into the muscles we aim to work on, and they improved that muscle in those areas, as proved by the test I did on week 5. Areas for improvement: time management. Like I said, I originally wanted to do 3 sets, but I only did 2 because of the half an hour time slot, so I should have taken that into account. And then there's variation in weights. Because my client touched on this, I should have included an increase of weight into my session plan, for which in my preparation with Burke I would have brought more weights with me than just the weight 1 rep max was. And include light activities during college work and rest days. Because for the rest days during my session plan, I left that mostly blank, but I could have given him some light stretching activities or some home exercises, such as just doing press-ups and sit-ups in his own time would have been a simple one, and that would have helped work on his strength and his core strength and his arm strength outside of the sessions.